We'll call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. I want to acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory and that the land on which we are meeting is the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Red River Métis Nation. As a council and as a municipality, we will continue to work on moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. Could I please have a motion for the adoption of the minutes?
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held at City Hall on March 27th, 2023 be adopted as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Espy. All those in favor? And that's carried. We do have one delegation this evening. We have STARS Air Ambulance with us, and we have Colleen Mayer, Daryl Braun, and Ray Rempel. If you just want to come to the podium, and even though I said your name, we just ask that you say it again for the record, please.
Well, good evening, Mayor Knox and members of council. I'm Daryl Brown, Donor Relations, Development, and Community Engagement Officer for the STARS Foundation in Manitoba. And joining me is Colleen Mayer, the Director of Donor Relations and Development for STARS in Manitoba. Ray is not here because he got called out on a mission. We could have the next slide, please. So what is STARS? STARS was founded in 1985. Dr. Greg Powell launched the initiative in Calgary when yet another mom died during childbirth just because of the length of time it took to transport her to hospital by ground ambulance. If she'd gotten to the hospital just 20 minutes sooner, it's very likely she would have survived. Next slide. So the Calgary base opened in 1985 with the assistance of the Lions Club, and it was originally called the Lions Air Ambulance Service. It was later rebranded to the Shock Trauma Air Rescue Service, or STARS. The Edmonton base followed in 91 and Grand Prairie in 2006. The Winnipeg base opened in 2011, while Regina and Saskatoon followed in 2012. Now here's a brief video to show you what STARS has been up to in the last 10 years or so. Should be the next slide. And then if you click it, it should go, no? Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, the presentation was put in through PDF, and so the video won't work for that. So
well, it basically tells the story of how STARS was invited first time to Manitoba in 2009 during the flood. Concern about access to communities that were surrounded by floodwaters. And then the Manitoba government of the day invited us back in 2011, again for the flood, and then asked us to stay permanently. There's a story in there about young Samuel, who's from a Hutterite colony a little northwest of here, arm of Westbourne, I believe. He basically died, drowned in a culvert, and was lifeless. And STARS was called in, and together with local EMS, he was revived, spent 2 weeks in a coma, and made a miraculous recovery. He was the first big STARS kind of poster child. He's now a strapping 21-year-old man on his colony and managing a manufacturing plant. And there have been many, many others since then. We had another video that tells quite a story of a young woman named Amanda Legault, who too, she crashed under a potato truck at a rural intersection, and basically had to learn to walk, talk, eat, and do everything again. She's now, since that accident, able to have another child, and she works at a credit union and is gainfully employed. So it was another one of those stories where the fact that we were able to deliver critical care to the scene in quick transport.
thank you. We'll make sure we send the original to council so they can watch the video.
Yeah, they can watch the videos. Absolutely. Thank you. So then to continue to the next slide. STARS had a very busy year in Manitoba in 2021-22. We flew 773 missions, an average of more than 2 every day, and we're on a similar pace this year. STARS has flown 285 missions to Portage la Prairie in the past 10 years, or an average of just over 28 missions each year. This past fiscal year, we flew 54 missions to Portage la Prairie, tied with Steinbach for the most mission locations that year. Next slide, please. No patient in Manitoba has ever received a bill after being cared for and transported by STARS, and this is due to the support of our donor allies. It's also important to note that when STARS does an inter-facility transfer from the Portage Hospital to Winnipeg, it enables the local ER doctor and nurses to stay at the local hospital for the next sick patient. If a local doctor and nurse accompany a patient in a ground ambulance, they're often gone from the hospital for 4 or 5 hours. And doctors in rural emergency rooms frequently tell us how important this is when STARS does those transfers. Next slide, please. So our responses largely consist of scene calls and inter-hospital transfers, but on occasion we do assist with search and rescue. This happens about once a year. We are fortunate to have an incredible team of paramedics, physicians, and pilots and nurses, all working together to provide the best possible chance at survival for critically ill and injured Manitobans. The helicopter is essentially a flying intensive care unit that brings high-level care to the scene. So STARS is an extension of your local emergency response team, including the Portage la Prairie Fire Department and local ambulance service. A growing number of municipalities in Manitoba are choosing to support us as part of their emergency services budget. We currently have more than 75% of the municipalities in the STARS service area who support us annually. STARS helicopters have a custom-designed medical interior to ensure top-level critical care on all missions. And if we could advance to the next slide. I skipped a few slides here, so we'll just scroll up to this one, Innovations in Patient Care. Yep. So the support of our donors not only allows us to have the best equipment, it enables us to seek out innovations in patient care. STARS is the first helicopter air ambulance service in Canada to carry blood on board for transfusions. And there are times when we begin those blood transfusions at the scene of an accident while a victim is still trapped inside a vehicle. Another example of innovation is our onboard ultrasound program. Again, we're the only helicopter service in Canada to use this technology this way. It enables our medical professionals to more accurately assess internal injuries at the scene of an accident. These innovations, among others, are directly contingent on fundraising. Innovations also extend to the aviation side. If we could get to the next slide. STARS was the first civilian organization licensed to use night vision goggles, which we use for our night missions. Next slide. So how was STARS funded? We are a charitable, non-for-profit organization that operates on a community-partnered model that consists of government funding, municipal support, community fundraising, individual donations, and corporate support. And as I said, more than 75% of municipalities in the STARS service area, which is south of the 53rd parallel from the Saskatchewan border to the Ontario border, now support us on an annual basis. Our patients, though, are the reason that we wake up each day striving to find the most innovative ways to succeed. One of the most rewarding aspects of our job is getting the opportunity to meet former patients. We call them VIPs, our very important patients. I told you the story of Amanda Legault, the young woman under the potato truck, and that was the video that would have played next. So if we go then to the next slide.
Along a highway.
We'll click that. We would respectfully ask the City of Portage la Prairie to consider an annual contribution to STARS. And we thank you for your time and gladly will answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Does council have any questions or comments? Jill or Councillor Massey, sorry.
Thank you for your presentation. I know both of you, I saw you at the trade show at the AMM, so can you briefly give, the province funds you as well, and then you have donations. Can you just give us just a brief of what the province covers and what the donations cover, and then from that also, what are municipalities normally giving you? Is it per capita? Is it a set amount every year?
I can answer the second question. Many municipalities support us at $1 per capita. You know, Piney was the first municipality that came on board at that level, and they've since topped that. Steinbach is another one. And then others that support us at a fund-to-flight level, which is between $5,000 and $6,000 for one mission. And so there are all varieties of that. And I'll ask Colleen just to speak to how the funding works.
Thank you for having us here today. So we are funded from the province. It takes about $10 million to run a base. And like Daryl had geographically outlined the area we cover, they cover about 8 million of that. So the rest is in our hands to top up the operating funding. But everything over and above that, the equipment and the innovation component, as it changes from year to year, technology only lasts for a couple years and then it has to be upgraded. So that is what Foundation is tasked with finding, is the new technology, the new innovation stuff that's going on.
Thank you. Councillor Doyle?
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I'm just wondering if you could tell me which hospitals in Manitoba become destinations for you.
We're called basically in that entire service area. So from Saskatchewan to the Ontario border up to the 53rd parallel. So from Swan River south, basically, if you draw that line across. And so our inner circle of most frequent flights is Portage, Steinbach, Boundary Trails at Winkler, and Selkirk. That's kind of the inner circle, but we're frequently called beyond that. That's for the inter-facility transfers, about half of our missions. The other half are scene calls, where we're going wherever that incident happens.
Anyone else? No, just a little bit of information. So one of our retired city employees, her spouse was actually one of the first, if not the first call from Portage when STARS happened and saved his life. So a little bit of a connection there. Thank you so much for your presentation. We like all the information we can get on the things that people are asking us to fund. So we appreciate that, and we'll let you know if we need anything else from you.
Thank you so much. Been a pleasure speaking, and appreciate the decorum. I go to many councils, and I love the forum here. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you. We have no public hearings tonight, so we'll move right in, and we have Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee has no report at this point in the meeting.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. City Planning and Economic Development has nothing at this point, but there is some new business, or some old business, sorry, on the
Great.
some new business on the agenda later down. Thank you.
Thank you. Community Services Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Community Services Committee has nothing to report.
Thank you. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Your Worship. Tonight, the Waterworks Committee would like to report to Council on our 2022 Wastewater Treatment Division Annual Report. So the issue here is to accept the 2022 Wastewater Treatment Division Annual Report or to not accept it. So to explain what it is and what it's about in the summary, each year, a report detailing the performance, operation, and maintenance activities of the water pollution control facility and the wastewater collection and convenience system is prepared and submitted. Once accepted by Council, the report will be filed with Manitoba Environment and Climate, as well as posted on the city's website for public access. In summary, an average of 13.6 million liters of wastewater was processed each day for a total of 4.95 billion liters. The complement, the compliant and efficient operations and maintenance of wastewater treatment division are attributable to a dedicated team that always give full effort to ensure all water received is treated and returned to the river at the highest quality achievable, which is evident throughout the report. And the report is very well done and pieced together. There's a lot of good information in there. So I so move, and the administration recommendation is that the city of Portage la Prairie accept the 2022 wastewater treatment division annual report as presented and authorize the submission to Manitoba Environment and Climate as well as posted on the city's website.
That's moved by Councillor Nichols, seconded by Councillor Porter. Is there any questions or comments on that? All those in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Excellent. Thank you. We'll move into Transportation Committee. Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Transportation Committee has nothing to report.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Your Worship. Public Safety Committee has nothing to report in council tonight.
Thank you. We have no deferred business. We'll move right into new business. We have the endorsement for FCM nomination. We have Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship. The issue here is to endorse Councillor Massey, myself, for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Board of Directors. The FCM, as all of us know, represents the interest of member municipalities on policy and program matters within federal jurisdiction, and the board is comprised of elected municipal officials from all regions, sizes of communities to form a broad base of support. It provides FCM with the united voice to carry the municipal message to the federal government. The FCM annual general meeting, which we will be attending this year, will be held in conjunction with the annual conference and trade show from May 25th to 28th, 2023, which is followed by the election of the FCM Board of Directors. So the administrative recommendation, and I humbly move this, that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie endorse Councillor Joe Massey to stand for election on FCM's Board of Directors for the period starting in May 2023 and ending June 2024, and that Council assumes all costs associated with Councillor Joe Massey attending FCM's Board of Directors meetings.
That's moved by Councillor Massey, seconded by Councillor Meyer. Just a point of information so everybody understands. Making a motion just puts it on the table. It doesn't necessarily mean Councillor Massey is endorsing himself, so if a little uncomfortable for him, but anyway. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that? Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. I certainly endorse and will be voting in favor of this administrative recommendation. I think we all know the power AMM can bring to us and having the relationships with that. FCM, for those of you that aren't aware, just takes it one step further. It really gives us some voice and connection to the federal stage, and I think being able to have somebody from our local council to be able to represent our region and that area on that federal level, I think is second to none. So with that said, I just want to let everybody know I would support that motion. Thank you, Your
Thank
Worship.
you, Councillor Meyer. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Espy?
Thank you, Worship. Ditto to everything that Councillor Meyer said, but I also can't think of a better candidate to represent us on the FCM level. And since my time here, this will be the first time that Portage la Prairie as a city has had that. So definitely will be supporting.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Porter?
Sorry, I would just like to echo what Councillor Meyer and Espy said, and thank you, Joe, or Councillor Massey, for doing that. And so I think that you are going to be a big help for everybody here, and you're there for the right reasons, and you're totally qualified for it.
Thank you. Councillor Nichols?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to thank Councillor Massey for putting up his hand in this situation and going forward, and I very much support this motion, and good luck.
Thank you. Councillor Doyle?
Well, I wasn't going to say anything because you already know how much I support you, but I didn't want to be the odd person out here. But I think you are the right guy for the job, and I fully support it.
Thank you. Councillor Massey, I totally agree on that. I think the big thing to remember is that you're going to be representing Manitoba, not just, even though we love you representing Portage, but your experience and knowledge will just be a great voice at FCM. I just have a question though, just about the costs associated. We've had some discussion with that, and I know maybe administration has had some discussion with AMM about what gets covered costs, so we can just make sure our citizens know.
Thank you, Your Worship. The motion you have before you today is a template motion provided by FCM, and it's based on the concept that all councils, if they endorse a candidate, should be prepared to pay their costs. Now, we are fortunate to be in the province of Manitoba and represented very well by the Association of Manitoba Municipalities. And the Association of Manitoba Municipalities believes strongly that local candidates from Manitoba representing Manitoba at the national board is important, so they actually take the majority of those costs and support candidates who are elected to the board. So while the motion says that we will support costs, and I'm sure this council would be more than supportive of that, I should be clear that if Councillor Massey was elected to the FCM board, AMM would take on the majority of those costs to support his candidacy and representing the province of Manitoba.
Thank you. And I wish it was as easy as this motion to get you there, but there will obviously be an election, so I'm sure you have people around this table will help you win that election. I have heard a few slogans go around already too, so Joe knows. All those in favor? That's carried. Councillor Massey?
Thank you, Your Worship. And this is very humbling. And first of all, I want to thank our mayor. I approached her about this, first of all, is to get the head of council to endorse you and be supportive is great. And then my council colleagues. It's a great group, and I will work hard on your behalf to get there. And once elected, I hope to represent you well. But this is the most important part for me. When your own council says yes, you go for it. So thank you very much, and I will we'll work hard in Toronto, all of us, hopefully, and we'll have a good time too. So thank you.
Thank you. Great. Another item of new business, and very exciting one, City Hall Phase 2 Accessibility Project and other improvements. Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is, as you know, an exciting project for our city. It's the making our City Hall accessible for all our citizens. So the issue here is to withdraw funds from the General Infrastructure Reserve to complete Phase 2 of the accessibility project. The background, as you know, work is currently underway to complete Phase 1 of the accessibility project at City Hall, which includes accessible access to the main floor of the building. And despite additional work that was needed, Phase 1 is anticipated to be completed in 2023 within budget, which is very good news. Phase 2 of the accessibility project will make the second floor accessible so people with disabilities can attend meetings and other events held in the meeting rooms. And this includes accessible lift from the first floor to the second, accessible washrooms on the second floor, modification to council chamber doors, an emergency staircase from the basement to the second floor, fire shutters on the windows beside the ramp on the first floor. So the estimated cost of Phase 2 is $460,000. We, City Council, allocated $260,000 of that in the 2023 budget to start Phase 2, depending on outstanding funding applications to the province and the Government of Canada. The city was successful in obtaining a grant of $100,000 for the project, and compliments to our staff for pursuing that. And we will be able to advance the Phase 2 project timeline sooner than expected. So in order to complete the project, the remaining balance of $100,000 will require approval from our council to be funded by the General Infrastructure Reserve. Other improvements we're going to be making are been planned but were put on hold until Phase 2 of the project was underway due to the impact of the work would have had on the main floor of City Hall. And that, of course, is work on our finance department renovations, including front counter and department workstations, main floor carpet, and water fill station. The estimated cost of completing this work is $87,000. And as this was not included in the 2023 budget, will require the council's approval to fund this from the General Infrastructure Reserve. So the administrative recommendation, and I would move that the council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the withdrawal of $100,000 from the General Infrastructure Reserve to complete Phase 2 of the accessibility project, and that the council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the withdrawal of $87,000 from the General Infrastructure Reserve to complete the other improvements to City Hall. I would move that, Your Worship.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Massey, seconded by Councillor Meyer. Any comments or questions on this? Just a comment is it's very exciting that we're moving on to Phase 2 sooner than expected. Yes, kudos to our administration department and who found funding to be able to do that, applying for those grants. We did know we wouldn't be able to move forward without financial assistance from another level. I think it's very important in our community when we talk about accessibility is that it's hard for us to encourage businesses and encourage other places to focus on accessibility when we're not leading the way. So now we can say that we are, and we're making sure that our building is remaining or going to be accessible, and also at the same time keeping the beautiful heritageness, that's not the right word, but keeping the beauty of this old building and making it look the same as it always was. It's always important to our citizens, so I'm glad that we've thought about that in our plans. So excellent. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We're moving into new business, an extension of PC 19-23 conditional use for Sembi and Adani at 125 Saskatchewan Avenue East. Councillor Espy?
Sorry, Your Worship, I must declare an interest in this and the next item and ask to be recused.
Thank you. You're excused. Thank you. I'll move it over to Councillor Nichols then, please. Is your mic on there?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think I have all of them on now by the looks of it.
If the red light's on,
Yeah,
you're
it's
good.
good. Thank you. So what we're looking at here is, I'll just pull this back up.
Sorry,
here
Madam,
again.
Oh,
Madam Mayor,
sorry.
I apologize. Is that not following my?
I think that's
Sorry.
Madam Mayor, that's
Councillor
okay.
Meyer, yeah. Thank you.
My mistake. Sorry.
No issues.
Councillor Meyer. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Council, quite simply, what it really is just a request for a continuation, just for the new councillors that were here. It was a request to council back in roughly this time last year, where the original conditional use was approved for this request. So really what it was to allow an extension of the original conditional use of Jagbeer Sembi and Adeniran Olasugan Adonai, which was PC 1722, to allow for a dwelling, multifamily above the first floor and be a minimum of 37.2 square meters in floor area in the C2 Central Commercial Zone. So basically it just didn't fit within the development agreement, and they were applying for a conditional use which had been previously approved. So as you know, the Planning Act states that the approval of a conditional use under this part will expire and cease to have any effect if it's not acted upon within 12 months of the date of decision. In your package was also the original order for your reference that basically was the approval of the original the original conditional use. And the background was today the applicant is requesting an extension to their original conditional use order, which was passed by resolution number 2022-0062 on April 11th, 2022 for an additional 12 months. As per the attached original conditional use order on this matter, administratively, we have no concerns with the application for an extension to the original conditional use order, and as such, the administration would recommend approval. So it's an administrative recommendation, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the request of Jagbir Sembi, Adeniran Olasugan Adonai to extend the original conditional use order PC 1722 at the property on 125 Saskatchewan Avenue East, which is legally described as Lot 17, Block 1, Plan 1997 in the parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Nichols. Any questions or comments? Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. And generally, I don't have any concerns. Delays happen. And sometimes whether it's supply chains, whether it's planning designs, and I don't really have any issue with an extension for a conditional use such as this. And I originally had voted in favor of it and have no issue with the conditional use. The only issue I have, and I know the applicant's not here tonight to address it, but being where it is, it's a really high traffic area within our city. And I know last year that we did have a couple of issues with maybe the maintenance, care, and upkeep. I'm not going to ask on bylaw at this point in time, but I just trust and would like to have some assurances that the property will be kept in a safe and presentable position until the time that that construction starts. And I do believe that construction will go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Meyer. To administration?
Through Your Worship to Councillor Meyer, Chief Bailey and myself will work with the property owner to make sure property standards are maintained during that time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other question or comment? My comment would be kind of along the same, is that I do understand that delays happen and that, but we would really like to see this lot developed is what I would like to say. And I'm not sure if anyone planning or administration can comment on sort of what the delay is on this, because I think it'll definitely be a great addition to our downtown area.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I think administration understands council's enthusiasm to have a lot on our main avenue developed, and I know we've worked with our partners at PRED in planning to communicate our enthusiasm for that project and to be supportive where we can, and we'll continue to monitor the developments on that project and update council when we can.
Thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. Perfect. Another new item of new business. Extension of PC 20-23, variation for 125 Saskatchewan Avenue East. Councillor Meyer.
I'll get used to these new mics, by the way. They're pretty cool. Sorry, this is just an extension from the conditional use that we did just approve. This is those for an extension for variation. So the original variation for those that are new to this file is that the parking stall requirements of 32 stalls be reduced to 26 parking stalls. Off-street parking area maximum access width of 10.7 meters to be increased to 29.49, and that's on the north side of Howe Avenue. And off-street parking area maximum access width of 10.7 meters to be increased to 36.128 meters on the south side of Howe. This original variation was approved back at the same time that the conditional use was there. Once again, for your information, there is the approval of the variation in addition to the site plan for your information as well. Back to this part. There we go. So what this is, again, is just an extension of that original variation order, which was passed originally by resolution number 22-0064 on April the 11th, 2022 for an additional 12 months. And the Planning Act Section 101 follows the same as it did for the conditional use. From an administrative perspective, as per the attached original variation order on the matter, they have no concerns with the application for an extension to the original variation order, and as such would recommend approval. So with that said, and it's the administrative recommendation, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the request of Jagbir Sembi, Adeniran Olasugan Adonai to extend the original variation order PC 18-22 at the property on 125 Saskatchewan Avenue East, which is legally described as Lot 17, Block 1, Plan 1997 in the parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Nichols. Any questions or comments on that? Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. And just to reiterate that my concerns with this is exactly the same as they were with the previous conditional use. I believe we've already had the assurance by city manager and our director of public safety that they will be on top of that to make sure that it is clean and that. So I certainly would vote in support of it.
Thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We have one item of old.
Should we get Councilor?
Oh, yes, Councillor Willett, right? Councillor Espy back. Thank you. We have one item of old business, a second and third reading of utility rates bylaw 22-8748 from Finance, Legislative and Property Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship. As you know, we did the first reading of this bylaw 22-8748. Tonight we are considering second and third reading for amending bylaw 22-8748. The background is in 2022, Way to Go Consulting was hired to complete a review of the current utility rates, and as we've discussed around this table, significant increases in the cost of processed chemicals that the utility has seen over the past 2 years, and the expenses associated with the construction and ongoing operating and maintenance costs of the new Poplar Bluff Reservoir. It was determined that an increase in rates would be necessary for the utility to be able to meet the funding targets established in the 2020 utility rate study. This bylaw proposes an increase of 8.7% to the water rates and 0.6% to wastewater rates previously approved by the Public Utilities Board effective July 1, 2023. The impact of a household using 40 cubic meters of water per billing cycle is an increase of about $7.20 per bill. The Public Utilities Board has approved the city's revised rates effective July 1, 2023, and the resulting increases on January 1, 2024 and 2025. And a copy of the approved board order will be posted on the city's website, and users will be notified of the changes to the utility rates. So I'll have two motions here and recommendations. The first one is that administration is recommending, and I would move that bylaw number 22-8748, being a bylaw of the City of Portage la Prairie, to amend utility rate bylaw 20-8710 be given second reading.
Moved by Councillor Massey, seconded by Councillor Meyer. Any questions or comments on that? Just my comment would be is we were at the Association of Manitoba Municipalities Spring Conference last week, and just in discussion with fellow municipal official colleagues that this isn't an issue that's a Portage issue. It's across the board in our province and probably across the country with the increase in cost of things. So I think we're going to be seeing that more and more as we go. So that's my comments. All those in favor? And that's carried. Councillor Massey?
Thank you, Your Worship. And maybe before we look at third reading, I would ask administration just to comment on the process. And I know we had some representation given to us, I believe by Roquette and maybe others. Could you just go through the process and what needs to happen in terms of the process for this to go ahead?
Thank you, Councillor Massey. I just wanted to make a few comments. So the review and vary application process that we're submitting, again, we were pre-approved with a previous rate structure, and now we're adjusting that based on changes in chemical costs and new infrastructure costs. So today we've received approval from PUB, meaning they reviewed our business case, believe those rates are fair and valid, and have given us the legislative permission to go forward and carry forward our process. I'm going to request that council, we have now carried the second reading of this bylaw, that we just take a pause before we bring forward the third reading. The reason I ask that is because this is a quicker process, I would like to go above and beyond the legislative requirements of council, post the rates as proposed through our local media, and then reach out to some of our larger industrial partners and just make sure they're aware that PUB has approved these rates. These are going to come forward in July 1st, so we do have some time. Allow those to be posted for over 30 days and then bring forward third reading in our second meeting in May. So I'm making a request of council that we do not put the third reading of the bylaw forward today and allow administration to post rates, inform the public, go above and beyond the process just to make sure our public is well informed and know what's coming down the road.
Thank you. Okay. Nope. We just don't go ahead, right?
As a process point or a point of order, I would not need a direction from council. Just a non-direction is enough direction, I guess is the.
Yeah. Thank you. So we'll bring that at a later date, everyone. So we'll adjourn council at 6:40 p.m. and we will move right into committee. We will call committee to order at 6:40 p.m. We'll move right into finance committee is open to the public at all times, in case you're wondering. We'll move right into Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee. Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee has no report under committee tonight.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. The City Planning Economic Development Committee has no report, but I would certainly reach out to my trusted colleagues around the table if they represent either city planning or economic development in any committees that they sit on. If there's anything they want to bring forward in committee, you are more than welcome at this point in time.
Thank you. Any comments? No?
And seeing none, I have nothing else to report.
Thank you, Councillor Meyer. And Community Services Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. First on my agenda for this evening is the Cocoa Platts Community Center presentation. So through Your Worship, I'd like to welcome Julene Taves-Dewis to do that presentation.
Julene, you just have to turn the mic on with the little person. There you go. You got it.
My partners before came show me the ropes.
Okay. Julene, could you just hold for a quick second for Councillor Meyer? I will get you to state your name and all of that when he's back, too. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome.
Wonderful. Thanks for having me. So my name is Julene Taves-Dewis. I am on the board of directors of the Cocoa Platts Community Center, and we have been hard at work with creating new plans for the center, and really my intention here today is to update council on some of the new renderings that we have, specifically the renderings for the new building that we are planning to build in the coming months ahead. So as many of you know, the Cocoa Platts Community Center is the last running community center in our community. It has been run by our organization. It is a charitable organization that we run for the city and the community, but we do it in partnership with the city of Portage la Prairie. We lease the land every year from you fine folks, and also have been working in partnership with the city on this rebuild. So Councillor Meyer has been working with us on our redevelopment committee, and I know has been providing information back, and so today we'll be just providing a few more details on all of that. So really the intention here today is to share the renderings of the new space to give you an idea of what the new community space will look like, and also the what the new building will be proposed to look like as well. So I'll just run through these schematic drawings that we've had drawn up here. So this is just a bird's eye view of the lot, and so at the very top in the north side there, that is Meehan Avenue, and then the through street on the side is Garrick Park Drive. So I think a couple big things to note on this design is a couple key things is that we're moving the location of the building. So the Cocoa Platts Rec Club previously was kind of in the middle of the lot, and we are proposing moving it more to the far south side of the building. The reason for that is a couple things. Number one is it creates more of a park-like environment if there's not a building right in the middle of it. So we're able to kind of have sight lines all the way from Meehan Avenue through to the building. The other thing is for safety. So as we know, this the fact that we're rebuilding this building is a result of arson, and so we have been working diligently to create plans that also minimize the threat of those types of actions again in the future, although that can never be taken away. We want to reduce that. And so by having the building more towards the back, it also allows for better sight lines, fewer places to hide within the site. The second big thing to notice here is that right now the Cocoa Platts Rec Club has 2 entrances off of Meehan and Garrick Park Drive. We are proposing that we move to just one off of Garrick Park. Again, a number of reasons for that. One is that, you know, having a through road allows for activities that we may not want to have because it's kind of a fast in and out point. The other thing is that having 2 driveways takes away from the green space, and it is a gorgeous space with the tree canopy, and by having less driveway, we can have more park. So that's the big thing on this. You'll also see a parking lot on the far left. We are fundraising to rebuild the rink, which will still be in the center of the lot, but of course we're also moving towards wanting it to be a 4-season rink, so to speak. So in the summer, it being more of basketball courts, those types of activities, and in the wintertime, a hockey rink. And again, the idea being that the more it's used throughout the year, the more people that are there, the more folks that are around, the less likely we are to have other type of mischief on the lot as well. And it just creates a better community space for us to use year round. If you want to scroll down to the next picture. So this next one here shows how we are looking at the layout of the building. And so the layout of the building was really influenced by community feedback. So early on in this process, we reached out to the community and we had a large response from that. And really what we heard was that everybody loved having a clubhouse on the site. They were happy with the size of the clubhouse. There's a lot of nostalgia, a lot of use for the hall for things like birthday parties, hockey wind-ups, all kinds of things like that. So there was a big desire to have that hall back. And then of course, having a change room area for individuals that are using the rink. What we also though heard in that feedback was that there was this openness to revisit exactly what the site looked like. And so for us as a board, we spent a lot of time talking about what could this be beyond what it was before. And so the main change that we're making in this new design is that the hall, instead of it being a long and narrow building, we're making it more of a square building, and there is still a skate change area and the hall, but there is also the opportunity to open the whole thing up. So if we are hosting a hockey tournament, if we're having an event in the area, you can make it larger, or we still have the separated areas as well, should we need to have that. This building, of course, because we are working with insurance companies and needing to stay up to code, it is also a much more accessible building. You'll see the entrance is now closer to the parking lot, making it easier to get in and out, and having universal gender-neutral washrooms, all those types of things to make sure that we are designing it right for the time that we live in right now. If we want to go to the next slide here, you can see there is a rendering of what the building may look like. So this is viewing it from the rink towards the south. So you'll see that we're putting in a lot more windows. The idea being that we want this to be a community hub. So in the past building, if parents or kids were getting their skates on, you weren't able to see out on the ice. Even folks who were in charge of making sure everything was happening as it should be on the rink couldn't actually see the ice. So right now there's going to be a lot more windows in there. Again, the idea being that parents can sit and hang out in the area with their families while watching kids skate. If there is an event going on while skating has happened, we can still separate them, but we also have the opportunity that all the way from the hall onto the rink, you're able to have, again, that sight line directly into the park. So it will be quite lovely. And of course, there's 2 entrances. So coming off of Garrick Park Drive is where most folks will come in. And then there's kind of a through walkway to be able to come directly out onto the ice for those that are using the rink. And then the very last design we want to show you here is just a couple of renderings of what it may look like on the inside. So again, this is all, we are still finalizing exactly what these pieces are going to look like, but this is a good first shot at what this building will be. So top left is a picture of the skate change area from one view. Top right is looking from the other view. And then the bottom 2 are that large hall area where you can see all the way through to the rink and also have a large space for the gatherings that we're used to having. So that's really what I had come prepared to share today, was to give an update on the building and where we are moving forward with that, and to see if there's any questions from the group.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Doyle?
I don't have a question. I just want to thank you for coming and sharing this with us. And I know you've put a lot of effort into this, and you've been with the organization for many years, and I can see you're passionate about it. And I just think the right person is behind the reins on this.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We have a great team too. There's, a lot moving this forward.
Anyone else? Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship, and I've been fortunate enough to be really just a council rep on this committee. I know that they've done all the work, and I know I've said it around the council table a number of times how impressed I have been. I just certainly wanted to say it publicly, as I echo Councillor Doyle's comments as well. Julian, you and your team have done an excellent job. Your passion and dedication show it. And I know that it's not there yet, but it will be there soon. And before you know it, we'll be cutting the ribbon on it, and it'll be worth everything. So once again, thank you for your efforts. And you've just been in a really, really impressive grassroots group to work with. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank
Yes, we will get there.
That's right. Thank you. Yeah, I just thank you for coming and showing us. This is exciting for the community. I think your team has done a really great, well thought out plan here. I know myself use the facility for different things, and I'm excited for it to be rebuilt. And I just think you've really given consideration to that whole area there. And I look forward to driving down and being able to see the skaters on the ice that I think you couldn't necessarily see before, and just bring that excitement. So I wish you luck in the rest of your fundraising journey.
Thank you.
You will get there. We know that. We have a great community of support around here. So thank you for coming.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Councillor Espy?
Just one more thing to mention, the Parks Committee is continuing their ongoing fundraising efforts for the skate park at Simplot Central Park, and they're actually in the process of planning an event in that park for the summer that we have not had since 2019. So it's nice to see that come back.
Excellent. And then and the other thing too that I saw on the Parks Committee too is because they're working with the fundraiser for the accessible swing too, right? And I know that there's a fundraiser going on where you can buy cash calendars. I think it ends this week too. So all the support out there for these great things. Thank you, Councillor Espy.
Thank you.
Waterworks Committee, Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't know if anyone has anything to share in terms of Waterworks Portfolio Committee around the table. No, I have one little thing that I'd like to speak to, and that's in fact the wastewater treatment division annual report, and it's in your packages. It'll go public, but there's some really good information here in terms of that group, and some awards that were given out to rookies of the year, and another little. Well, it's not little. It's quite notable here. The new utility maintenance building is actually, that building is dedicated in memory of Wayne Wall. And we've done some really good work there in terms, there's a nice plaque on the wall indicating that in recognition of his 28 years of service to the city of Portage la Prairie and for his lifelong commitment and contribution to the water industry in Manitoba. And so that building is actually dedicated to him. And I really appreciate that, and I appreciate the work that's gone into this. And I'm sure the public will find some very good information in this report that's going to go forward. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Nichols. I agree with you, well deserved. Every time I may or may not buy a bottle of water, I think of Councillor Wall, because he was definitely a champion of our great water in our city, so he is missed. Thank you. Transportation Committee, Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to bring attention to the service requests located on the main page of the City of Portage la Prairie website. It's spring, everybody, and Mother Nature, we don't know what they have in store for us. So just want to go over this service request, which allows community members to be involved with the upkeep of the Portage la Prairie by submitting problems or observations to city staff. So there's a little button that says submit right on the main page, submit a service request. And whether you want to report a pothole, an animal running at large, or a illegally parked vehicle, or report a downed tree, the ability to report this information only is as far away as your smartphone or your computer. So I'd just like to clarify something. If there's something that needs immediate attention, please contact the non-emergency line at the fire department. So if it's something that needs attention right away, that's who you should be calling and not doing the service request. So just to clarify that. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you.
If
Mr. Pito?
Thank you, Councillor Porter, for bringing up that. It's a great way to get concerns dealt with right away. I will just add on to your comment, but if it's an after hours or on the weekend that you need, there's some type of emergency, you can contact that number and then they will go to the person on call.
Yes, you're correct. Thank you for correcting me.
Thank you. Adding, he said.
Or
Yeah.
adding.
Thank you. And I think, Councillor Porter, I think that was a great thing to bring up because it is spring and we get a lot of comments or emails or phone calls on things happening with Mother Nature. And the biggest thing that gets me is when I see a comment or somebody says, well, the city doesn't care. Well, I'm going to tell you they do care. And I'm going to tell you that the people working on the streets and in these departments really care about the job they do and how the streets look. And so we have to be a little bit patient sometimes with the process. And sometimes, like you said, they don't know where the problem is. So by reporting things in a respectful manner, then maybe they're going to get looked at a little bit sooner. But I give kudos to all the people who've been working hard at thawing drains and, filling things. And we'll get, when we get this thaw freeze over, then we'll get those potholes taken care of. But people just need to remember that we do care about how our city looks and we work hard at that. So thank you. Public Safety Committee, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would just like to remind the City of Portage and the region, actually, everyone on council, administration, Carter, just want to remind everyone that tomorrow night is the Regional Crime Prevention Forum put on by the RCMP at Stride Place in the multipurpose room. The doors open at 5:30. There's a presentation at 6 p.m. and a little Q&A to follow. Security vendors will be there, and community safety volunteer programs like COPP will be there. In fact, COPP will have recruitment officers set up to take your information. If you want to apply to be a COPP member, you can apply right on site, and you will get your criminal record check done free of charge as part of that application process. So I just wanted to remind everyone, go on down to Stride Place tomorrow night, starting at 5:30 for the Regional Crime Prevention Forum.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Doyle. I think one of the best things that you're going to learn tomorrow night is crime prevention through environmental design. We know it's also spring in our city and there's a lot more foot traffic. And with that brings mischief. And so preparing yourself in your yard and your property for that is huge. So I think it's great that you're helping put this on, Councillor Doyle, and I hope it's a great turnout. Councillor Massey?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think this falls under public safety. I was honored and humbled to represent you at the 106th anniversary of Vimy Ridge on Sunday. I know you did the proclamation, and I can tell you on behalf of all of us, when I spoke there, it was very touching to me. I've never done that before, and laid a wreath and remembered those people, but soldiers, and it was very moving, and I just wanted to let council know it was very much appreciated by the Legion. We put a lot of work into that. We had our MLA there, and the federal government was there, so on your behalf, Mayor Knox, I was there, and it was a very moving ceremony for me personally, and I hope I represented the city well.
Thank you, Councillor Massey. Councillor Doyle?
Can I just add one more thing? The city's animal retention facility has some pets that are in there looking for new homes. So I don't know exactly how many cats and dogs we've got at the moment, but I won't put Brad on the spot. But if you are interested in adopting a dog or a cat, you would contact who?
It's on the website.
It's on the website.
Yeah.
Animal control. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we adjourn, I just want to make a comment that council spent a lot of time together in the last week or so. We had a great couple of days of strategic planning, which will eventually be a public document once we get the information back. But it was honestly a pleasure to work with you all and have administration involved in the process. So I came away from that couple of days very hopeful for our city and where we're at and where we can go. And I think the biggest thing that I walked away from that was that we had an outside person doing it, and that they were very hopeful and excited about what the city of Portage can be and what it's going to become. And I think we have some great people around this table that are going to help take it in that direction. And then also just thanks to everybody who attended Association of Manitoba Municipalities. Lots of great information there. It was some of the highlights for sure was the leaders forum for the upcoming provincial election, which was full of a little, as they said, it was a little salty. But I think it's important that we see that they are looking at municipalities and how they are going to, what they're going to do for municipalities and represent us. And we should always keep that in mind as this next few months goes on. So it was a great week to spend with all of you, get to know everybody a little better, and we'll carry on. Thank you. We'll adjourn at 7:02. Thank you.